And, you know, I can't help but follow Terry and Kurt here with, is it procommunicators.com? You know, I laugh because that is the #1 social fear, is the fear of speaking in public, of public speaking, which, you know, now I'm going to tell you the second greatest fear, and I believe that you two have it, because I've been watching you. I told you I saw you in the parking lot when we both went to the wrong place. Then I followed you over here. The second greatest social fear in the United States is the fear of starting a conversation with a stranger. Because you two talk to each other the whole time today. I've been watching you. So I did not realize you were a sponsor, but it goes to show you, like, look how great they were on stage. Like, we laughed, they were awesome. You were really amazing how you caught our attention. So you're skilled presenters, and yet imagine being a skilled presenter and yet still being, I don't know if they're afraid of starting conversations with strangers, but they didn't do it, okay? So for whatever it's worth, a little bit about, first of all, is anybody else an engineer? I'm in a creative crowd today, I get it. So oh my gosh, there's 3 other dorks in this room today besides me. So my guess is you're thinking, gosh, she's an engineer. What does she got to do with small talk? And I'm going to tell you something, and I think I speak for all of us and the engineers in the room. I thought small talk was a waste of saliva. I mean, why would anybody want to learn how to do that? If I had chosen to chat with people, I would not have chosen engineering as a field of study for degrees and work. When I was an engineer, I would, about 60% of the time, plant myself behind an 8-foot table and represent projects to people like yourself that would come up to the table. I had no problem doing that. I was very well trained. But if you put me into the hospitality suite at the end of the day, I was like a fly on the wall. I had no idea how you're supposed to talk to anybody about anything beyond, what is your name, sir? Chris? Chris, what do you do? Chris would say whatever it is that he does, then he'd ask me what I do, and then what do you talk about after that? And I had no clue, but I figured it was just dorks that didn't know what to talk about after that, and all the rest of you knew exactly what to talk about. And that is, I'm still an introvert. I'm not behaving like an introvert, but I'm an introvert. And I used to be shy. I'm no longer shy. So I didn't know you could learn how to small talk, nor did I know that you would want to learn how to do that. But that was one part of my life that brought me to where I am today. The second epiphany for me was in 1988, and now I'm looking around the room and I know a lot of you were not born at that point, but you'll understand the reference point. In 1988, Oprah and I, that year, we both lost 65 pounds. Now, Oprah has had to do this again. I'm only telling you this about me because I've since lost more. When you're like that in this world, that overweight, into my 30s, over 300 pounds, you get excluded from everything. So the girls didn't invite me to their birthday parties. Nobody asked me out for a date till I got out of college. My best friends were books. Books came easily. Doing what we just did in the gallery. Samantha, where are you? There she is, back there. Once Jim Lang, I hope I got your name right, the photographer was done, Darling, sorry. Darling. Oh, Darling Fine. We could go together, Jim. But, sorry, Jim. Thanks for the shout out. Once Jim Darling was done with my photos and all that, I was so anxious to get in here and mingle, and I was lucky. I walked up to a complete stranger, introduced myself, and it turned out to be Samantha. We did end up filling out one of those cards. We might win, Samantha, although I'm the one that brought the prizes, so I don't really want one. But I hope that you win. But to walk into that room like we had to do today and walk up to new people was just out of the question for someone that was a dork and weighed over 300 pounds. I used to look at people like you and think, how are they doing that? What have they done? Okay, so now I'm going to digress. That would be typically how I would open a program for Google or for the Denver Art Museum has used me for their docents, for their volunteers, for any association. But now I'm going to digress and hopefully inspire you a little bit today. About in 1990, so however long ago that was, I had a pretty lousy thing happen to me in that my then husband, father of my children, had troubles and was taken away. And I was a stay-at-home mom who had been an engineer. And I had to work. We needed money pretty desperately. And my kids had never been in daycare. I tried that for one day. It didn't work out very well. So, because I went back, I was an engineer for one day. Couldn't do it. So I had to reinvent myself. I did a lot of crazy things. I was a weight loss counselor. I worked doing inventory for companies, whatever I could do to juggle these kids and try to get our lives together and try to earn a buck. And I was sitting and waiting one day to pick up a child, I think, and I saw this catalog, and you'll still see these catalogs around town here in Denver, but it's mostly online, and it's Colorado Free University. Is anybody familiar with this? Okay, and in the back, and it's still the case, whether it be online or you pick up a catalog, there's a whole section that says teachers needed. And they needed teachers for auto mechanics, they needed teachers for Italian cuisine, and they needed teachers for small talk. And I saw that, and I couldn't believe it. Why would anybody else want to learn to small talk? Like I lost all the weight, been an engineer, and I changed my life. After I lost all the weight, I would try to make friends, and I learned to make friends, and I learned to make a life. And then I thought, why would anybody else want to learn small talk? I thought I was the only one that couldn't do it. So, because I needed money so desperately, and you could work, you can do a program, you can do any kind of creative program, any cooking program you'd like to do. Gesundheit. I could do a program from 6 to 8:30 at night. I could hire high school babysitters like I'd always had and make an extra $45. $45. That would help pay the electric bill. I was absolutely desperate. So I went in and they made you sort of audition for this job. And I got it. And what I didn't know then that I know now is anybody could have gotten it. You just have to sort of speak English well. But I went to the library and I memorized 10 minutes on small talk. And as a matter of fact, Samantha, of all things, what I presented in 10 minutes was how to use compliments. That's what she's got on her name tag. That's how she starts conversations. And I did a 10-minute thing on complimenting and how you compliment people and the categories of complimenting, all this. So they hired me to do it. And first time, 6 people showed up. And then maybe 12 people showed up. And it took about a year of doing it once a month. Just for the money. I didn't have a vision, I didn't have a strategy, no business plan. I just needed money. And I'd found another way to make money and support these 2 little kids. And a woman in the audience said to me, she was the assistant municipal clerk at the city of Englewood, and she said, "Can you shorten that workshop?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, to an hour, 45 minutes or an hour, from 3 hours." And I said, "Well, sure. I mean, anything can be shortened. It's lengthening things that's tough." So she said, "Well, you know, we need a keynote speaker for the municipal clerks of Colorado in Keystone, and I think this would be a perfect topic for them. What's your fee?" And I had no idea what she was talking about, so I just said, "Well, what's your budget?" And she said $1,000. And that was 1991. And that's when the light bulb went off. $1,000 for an hour's worth of work. Oh, and they'll pay for your gas and your hotel and all that other stuff. And the rest is sort of history. I'm standing before you today because that light bulb went off, and I realized you didn't have to be Anthony Robbins. You just had to be an expert on something, and you had to build your craft, and you had to become really good. And most importantly, as I said to Dave today, you had to learn to sell. So I did learn to sell. I spent a year's worth of time on research, icebreakers. What do you say to engage someone in conversation? How do you get through an awkward moment? You're sitting at a table of 8, everybody's introduced themselves, we've said what we do for a living, and now we bow our heads and start to play with our food. Or, you know, we're all crackberries now. We pull out our devices and do that. And I saw it out there today. People are so busy. They came all this way. I mean, I'm assuming it's a distance for you to get here. Came all this way and they're on their phones. Because we don't know what to say to people we don't know. I researched listening skills that help develop rapport with people. I researched conversation killers to avoid. I even researched exit lines so that never again, let's say you, Julie, who I met first time, she said, I sat in the back row so the speaker wouldn't pick on me, so I thought I'd just head right there. So let's say Julie's idea of an exit line is, Debra, gotta go. I gotta call the babysitter. Out she flies. 5 minutes later, I find out her kids are grown and in college. There's ways to exit people without lying to them, as well as ways to leave people so they can't hold us hostage. So I created these programs. I did all that. I'm going to tell you one more thing about me, and then we're going to do some takeaways so that when you are in a situation like this, whether it be at Creative Mornings or anywhere else, maybe you're a better networker, maybe you build rapport with your clients or potential clients, et cetera, et cetera. My guess is what I do know about you, everyone that I've not only met, but what I do know about freelancers, entrepreneurs, et cetera, is that if you don't get out there and network, I don't care how good you are, people don't know about you. I mean, unless you're a celebrity, and you may be. But one other thing about me, hopefully that will inspire you. It took till the end of the 90s until I got all this work at Colorado Free University and beyond. I was selling myself, Lockheed Martin, as they said, General Electric, et cetera, et cetera. People kept saying, well, can I buy your book? Can I buy your book? I was still pretty broke, by the way. And I was building it up again. We were fine by then. Can I buy your book? I didn't have a book, but I needed money. So I tried to get an agent, couldn't get an agent. So guess what I did in 2001? It was unheard of at that time. The only people that had done it that you'd have ever heard of is Celestine Prophecies. I self-published a book. That was before Amazon. Now everybody can self-publish a book. And it's not a bad way to go, by the way. I self-published The Fine Art of Small Talk. And I would sell it in the back of the room. And I'd make us more money, me and these two little kids. And then I got discovered. And I got a phone call. And a big publishing house offered me $25,000. And do you know what I said to them? No, thank you. If they'd called the year before, I would have not only accepted, but I would have jumped for joy. The next day they called and they doubled the offer. And I still said, because I'd done so well with this marketing of this book, I said, no, thank you. But then the light bulb went off again. If I have $50,000 on the table, I can get an agent now, because agents make commission off of, they don't care who you are, trust me, they don't care. But if they know they can get a commission off of 50, now they'll help you. So I called agents, I got to pick the agent, and then there was a bidding war. It went, those were the good old days of publishing. Let's just say I made a fortune off of The Fine Art of Small Talk and The Fine Art of the Big Talk. And now, by the way, Beyond Texting is a self-published book for teenagers because the publishing industry is completely different now, and they wouldn't give me the money I wanted, and now I'm a snob. So you can do anything you want to do. Most people in this audience are the same age as my kids, who are in their 30s, and they're self-supporting and done very well. And we did it. I'm remarried, by the way. I'm very happy. My life is great. It is amazing what you can make happen just by taking baby steps. So let's talk about some conversation skills. Number one. Typically people, and I'm going to come down here, maybe Chris, I'll start with you because I know your name. Julie, aren't you relieved I didn't go all the way back there? This is a typical conversation. Chris, what do you do?
I'm a photographer.
You're a photographer. And are you from Denver, Chris, or are you from somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Great. He's good at this. Okay, so okay. What you've witnessed is an FBI agent at work. Did you see what I did? I asked him what he did. He said photographer, and I chose to go to a whole different topic. That is not cool. Stay on topic. No matter what you start with, just stay on topic. When he said photographer, I should have said, well, what is your expertise in photography? Or describe a typical day, Chris, for you in photography. Anything like that to stay on topic. Now, there's nothing wrong with starting out with where you're from and go from there. Here's the deal, though, about starting a conversation with a complete stranger. And RJ, I'm going to ask you, give me a heads up of how much time I have left.
It's 9:33.
Okay, so, pardon me?
You have like 15 more minutes.
Awesome. Okay, so.
Do the math, it's hard.
Okay, so, no, I'm an engineer. Don't forget that, RJ. That's about all I'm good at as far as talent goes. So, Samantha, stand up a second, please. Okay, just stand up, okay? Okay, so I'm going to pass this microphone to you, and I want you to introduce yourself to everybody, and by that I mean just tell them what you do. Tell them about the work that you do.
So
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha. I do lots of things. I'm a recruiter, an event planner, and yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so see, I volunteer people the same way United Airlines does it. I get to decide, without the violence involved, of course, but that's how I volunteered Samantha. So now you all got to meet Samantha. So my first impression, not only now, but back there is, I think you're very, I don't think you're vivacious. I think you're extremely warm. I think you're comfortable in your own skin. You might be a touch reserved. You're saying I'm right, but you have a great smile and you're warm, etc. So let's pretend our Samantha and I didn't know each other and had never met, but we're at the same function. And Samantha chooses to walk up to me to engage me in conversation. She chooses me because I'm approachable. You were approachable today, Samantha. Do you know why? You weren't with somebody. There were other people I started to approach today. They probably don't know who they are. They looked like they were alone. One of them started to look at their phone, which is, they didn't know I was walking up to them. The other person just sort of turned their eyes and started talking to somebody else. So they may have been in that conversation. So I thought they were approachable and they weren't. You were approachable because you were not engaged with anybody else. You look for that in a room. Usually people like me, you know what we see in a room like that? I see you clusters of people that know each other. And I just wish I could be a part of one of your groups, because then I would have someone to talk to. And I know that there's a spotlight on me, and all of you people know I have no one to talk to. You're laughing because you've had that feeling. Trust me, I'm looking around the room, and you're very attractive people, but there's no one here that hot that everybody's looking at you. It's just not happening. Get over it. I have to get over it. I had to get over it just this moment when I walked in that room. It's a constant thing for me, thinking people know I have no one to talk to. Nobody knows. They're into their own stuff. So it's a risk to walk up to somebody new. It is. Any of you could reject me. You could. So what's riskier? I took I-25 today to get here. So let's get back to Samantha a second. Pretend we're at an event. We don't know each other. We've never observed each other. You view me as an approachable person. I'm looking around the room. I'm holding a cup of coffee. I'm sitting down in an auditorium or a classroom-style setting. I'm by myself. There's no one on the right or on my left. I'm an approachable person. And you decide you're going to come up to me, Samantha, and you're going to use the perfect line. And I know that's why you're all here this morning, got up this early. You're dying for, the single people are dying for the perfect line right now. So I'm addressing it. So we're there. The perfect line is based on the free information we have about occasion or location. So for instance, today, the free information I have is, have you ever attended a Creative Mornings meeting before? When I asked Kurt and Terry that question, they said they had been at one other one, and they had said they'd been at the one about compassion. And I was able to ask Terry, that is small talk. Were you at another meeting? Yes, compassion. What was your number one takeaway? Terry gave it real thought, and then he gave me an answer. We were having a conversation about that when RJ rudely interrupted and started the meeting. So that was free information. Have you ever been to a creative meetings program before? Here's free information. We're all in Denver right now. Doesn't mean we're all from Denver. Where are you from? Are you from Denver? No, I'm not. And we'd go to there. Yes, I am. Have you ever lived somewhere else? Have you ever wanted to live anywhere else? Anything along those lines. That's free information. How'd you get involved with this charity? If you're running the Boulder, you know, what prompted you to run the Boulder? How did you train for it? Do you train for it? Do you run any other runs? I would have asked any of you this morning, what other meetings or events or association things do you go to for your profession? That's probably what I would have asked you. Free information about occasion, location. Here we are. She's ready to use that line on me. Here comes Samantha. Don't worry, hon. You don't have to get up. So now she gets here. As she's approaching me, do you know what I'm doing? I don't know her. I'm doing what everybody in this room does, including me. I'm checking her out. It takes about a second of time. We don't even know we're doing it. And you know what I'm doing with Samantha? What I'm doing is I'm thinking, you know, things are good for me. My business is doing great. I've been on the Today Show 8 times just in the past 3 years. And when things got that good for me, do you know what I decided? I decided I don't have to talk to women half my age. Half my size. Beautiful and blonde ever again as long as I live. So guess what, Samantha? I'm going to give you one-word answers, and I'm not going to help you along in this conversation. People do it all the time. They work rooms. They get to you and they decide, well, I'm not here to meet, I am a photographer. I don't want to meet another photographer. I want to meet somebody with Linhart PR who might hire a photographer. And they blow you off because they see on your name tag that you're in a profession that they're not targeting at that networking event. Your icebreaker is not going to work with them either. If, I said I'm happily married again, but let's face it, sir. I mean, what is your name? Wendell. What if I don't like men with beards? Or how about glasses? Or plaid shirts? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Oh, he's taking his... Oh, so now I'm a cougar. He took his glasses off. There is no perfect line. People decide before you open your mouth whether they're willing to talk to you or not. You must be the first to say hello. You must be willing to take the risk. Let me make it a little easier for you. Do what I made myself do today. Consider doing it next time you come to Creative Mornings. Number 1, safe place. Number 2, wherever you go this weekend. You decide before you enter, as I did today, to turn it into a task and tell yourself, I'm going to meet 1 new person today. I'm going to meet 3 new people. You get to pick the number, okay, whatever the number is. And once you've met, I tell myself, once you've met 2 new people, you can go drink. You can go home. I can go sit in the lobby and wait till the program is going to start. I can do a lot of things, but I must meet the task. And tasks come easily, even to creative people, or you wouldn't be a success. So please, consider it a task if it doesn't come easily to you. You pick the number and you make yourself do it. So here's another tip. In conversation, we're going to all try this together. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to ask a question out loud, and I'm going to ask you to respond out loud as if you and I were one-on-one. And when I ask for a response, I'm going to just go like this, okay? So give it to me when I go like this. So here's the first question. How's your day? Great. How was breakfast? What's been going on? Okay, that's good now. So we didn't rehearse, right? And yet when I asked you what's been going on, most people in this audience said nothing. Okay, you're liars. You know you're liars. Yeah, I mean, it's Friday morning, for goodness sake, and you're already behind. And all of you, you've been so courteous. You're not looking at your phones. You're so behind. But you know why people, when you say what's been going on, you know why people say nothing or not much? People do that because there's so much going on you cannot think of what it is, so you say nothing. But here's a real important conversation tip, I think, okay? When you want to connect with people, you've met them at another meeting, you see them in town, they're a client, they're a referral source, whomever they may be. When you have the time and the interest in connecting, when they ask a question, instead of assuming it's rhetorical, give them an answer in a sentence, just in case they want to connect with you, because I don't know what to talk about with you. If I ask you, how's work, and you say pretty good, I have to start again. If I say, how have you been, and you say great, now those are good answers if we're passing down the hall. There's no problem. If I'm on an elevator with you, I'm not into elevator speeches. I think they're stupid. I don't know where you're getting off. You don't know where I'm getting off. How about hello and just acknowledge each other? Let's have peace and quiet once in a while. But if I sit next to you at a luncheon, or I'm your client and I say to you, how was your weekend? How have you been? How's your year been? How are the holidays? Will you please give me an answer in a sentence? So let me give you an example. Okay, let's pretend friendly Samantha and I are walking out the door today, all right, together at the same time. And she says to me, wow, what a beautiful fall day. That's a statement. Or she might ask a question, isn't it a beautiful day? Either one, okay, either one. It's not a rocket science icebreaker. It's just a statement and or a rhetorical question. If I'm in a hurry because I got to go, because I've got a function today, then what I'll say, Samantha, is, it sure is. And I'll smile, and I'll keep walking to my vehicle. I'm not going to play the conversation game. I don't have the time or the interest at that point. But today, actually, I have to be somewhere this afternoon, but I'm free as a bird. And every conversation is an opportunity It really is, unless someone's a class A jerk or offensive in some way. So when Samantha says beautiful day, or isn't it a beautiful day, do you know what I'll probably say to her? Samantha, I gotta tell you, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. I went to the University of Buffalo for my degrees. And every day outside of Buffalo, Samantha, is a beautiful, beautiful day. Now, Samantha might say, that's nice, or, and go to her car, she's gotta go. You know, did you hear? She's in recruiting, she's in event planning, she's busy. On the other hand, if she did want to talk to me, I've given her something to talk about. And by the way, it was nothing to do with work. And I did that intentionally, because the more you can give up that has nothing to do with work, that's not mushy. I didn't talk about my kids' GPAs and brag about that, did I? I didn't talk about my aches and pains. I just told her something real about me that had nothing to do with work, because you become three-dimensional. So if she did want to talk to me, now look where she can go. You're from Buffalo, Deborah? Is it really as bad as they say it is there? Deborah, you know, what do they do in the winter there? Deborah, what's it like having a Super Bowl loser year after year after year? So if I say to you, how's your week going? How's your year been? How's work? How's the photography world? Could you have an answer ready in a sentence just in case I'd like to talk to you? And even if I don't want to talk to you, you plant a seed. If I say, how's it going? And you say, great, I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving because I'm going to see my brother in Kansas City. You have a brother. Wow, do you know what that means? I don't have a brother. I have a lot of sisters, so we don't have to have it in common. You have a brother. Do you know what that makes you? A human being. You know, human beings have brothers. And people connect to human beings. They don't connect to people based on what they do. Now, if you want to stick to what you do, that's fine. If I say to you, how's it going? And you say, great, I just started 2 new projects last week, and one of them is really an exciting one for me, something really different. That's where you stop. But you've given me something to talk about with you, and I'm so thankful, because now I can connect with you, and also it won't be awkward walking down this long, long hall or sitting at this table waiting for this meeting to begin. People start playing with things instead of connecting with one another. The theme this month is death. And I would say a lot of people, especially people in my generation, believe the death of conversation is because of devices and technology. And I would really challenge that. We found new ways to communicate, there's no doubt about it. There's pluses and minuses, there's no doubt about it, as there is in everything. But I started my business way back in 1990. I didn't know I was starting a business, but it turns out I was. And I created a business because there was such a marketplace for it. The marketplace was in corporations. There was probably a marketplace in other places like schools, et cetera, but they wouldn't pay my fees. So that's a whole, that was a whole different thing. There was a marketplace for conversation skills face to face, because in my generation, people would just hang at the bar. You didn't need a device to be introverted and not interact with people. So I would challenge the death of conversation. I think there's a quote that I use a lot from Jean Le Carré, the author. A desk is a dangerous place to view the world. That quote is from long before there were personal devices. It means if you sit at your desk and you work all the time and you don't go out there, you can't get clients, you can't build relationships, you can't cultivate community, you can't build romance, you can't have friends. A desk is a dangerous place to view the world, and a desk can be taken down to a device as well. So I don't really believe so much in the death of conversation, nor do I believe that teenagers are to blame. That's another thing that's in my generation. Oh, those teenagers, really, buddy? You're at Costco on your stupid phone, and your kid's in the cart, and you're not even talking to her. You see it all out there. You're at restaurants, same thing, right? I think it's up to each and every one of us to make that difference. And by that I mean, number one is to take the risk to walk up to new people and forge those relationships and those bonds and that community. And number two is to assume the burden. If you're introverted, you will understand what I'm about to say. We are We are the nicest people in the whole world. There's no doubt about it. However, we're so self-centered that the only people's comfort we're concerned with in social interactions is our own. If I'm not comfortable, I would just go home, or I wouldn't go to the party at all. If I couldn't remember your name, well, I just pretended through the conversation. Let's pretend, Wendell, I didn't remember your name. And I just allow this to continue for 3-4 minutes, then we'd part. He knew that I knew, that I knew that he knew, that we didn't know each other's names, but that was more comfortable for me than doing what I make myself do now. Even though it upsets my stomach, even though I'm embarrassed, even though I hate doing it, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. Could you please remind me? Because my goal is to make him feel comfortable when he's with me. Walking down the hall, interacting at a function. What happened today, Samantha? We were standing there talking, and now I do forget her name. She walked up to us. She has long, beautiful hair. She works with you, it turns out. Oh, she's sitting next to you, of course. What is your name? Emily. So this woman walks up, and I go, hi, I'm Debra Fine. She says, hi, I'm Emily. And I automatically assume the burden and go, Emily, this is Samantha. Oh, we know each other, we work together. But I didn't know that, because someone that assumes the burden is acting like the host all the time and making sure people know other people. Okay, RJ, how am I doing? I'm done? Okay, well, I'm going to close with a poem, if that's okay with you, because it really applies to today and to a lot of the occasions I think we're all faced with. By the way, I don't assume that everyone here is an introvert by any means. A lot of us have introverted tendencies, especially in groups where we're expected to network where the pressure's on. So I do want you to think of it as a task if it is a challenge for you in any way. The poem I want to close with is called Thoughts from a New Member. And I know you're not a member of Creative Mornings, sorry, because I'm tight. But you are members. You're fellow members of this cult. So I think you'll be able to relate to this. Thoughts from a new member. I see you at the meetings, but you never say hello. You're busy all the time you're there with those you really know. I sit amongst the members, yet I'm a lonely gal. The new ones feel as strange as I. The old ones pass us by. Darn it, you folks urged us to join. You talked of fellowship. You could just cross the room, but you never make the trip. Can't you just nod your head and smile, stop and shake a hand, then go sit amongst your friends? Now that I'd understand. I'll be at your next meeting, and I hope that you will spend the time to introduce yourself. I joined to be your friend. Thank you all for having me here today.